Good morning and welcome to Amsterdam. Welcome to BitNation and welcome to a new world of decentralized governance. My name is James Fennell Tempelhof and I'm the Chief Operating Officer of BitNation. And I'm going to begin Devcon with a little talk about strategy. The apostrophe now, and that's because historically, I worked in Afghanistan for the UK government, where we were trying desperately to get Afghanistan to mirror the governance system of the West. And as it became increasingly obvious that Afghanistan had its own history and its own trajectory and its own wants and its own needs, which were different from those that we imagined, desired, we retreated into producing more and more strategy. In fact, we reinvented the term strategic bombing. We created vast numbers of strategies, all of which very rarely were implemented. So I want to talk today about our strategy, a strategy that is going to be implemented, and how BitNation is going to evolve from and remain an open source movement, but also into a professional organization which is going to deliver the software which enables all of us to live in a decentralized world. So welcome to BitNation, welcome to Devcon, net of sovereignty. I need to move on. Sorry, I don't know how to move the slide forward.
Right page up or down?
So what is BitNation and was founded on the idea that the nation-state system was no longer appropriate for the way that we live our lives. That we're living in a world in which borders are no longer relevant to the way that we engage with each other. And we're living in a world in which the technology of governance has failed to evolve in the way that the technology of our economy and our social interaction has changed. There are 3.6 billion people using cell phones, and all of them are communicating globally. Through Facebook, through other WhatsApp, WeChat, and other internet-based protocols, they're able to engage both economically and socially beyond borders. And yet our governance system makes the assumption that we belong within arbitrary geographical limits, and that all of the services that we should access should be constrained by those geographical limits. The legal system, the jurisdictions within each each nation state have been defined historically by hierarchies, and yet all of us need to make agreements with each other beyond those jurisdictions, and we do it every day. When we were thinking about how BitNation would a decentralized governance system, one in which governance service providers have to compete for citizens rather than citizens have to accept the governance services that are provided by each nation state. We also have to think about what is the nation state's raison d'etre? Why is it so? Why has it been so resilient as the system of governance? And we thought at the center of the nation state is the idea of a jurisdiction, that it can provide security, provide confidence that when we make agreements, those agreements will be upheld. So in order to find a decentralized governance model, we have to outcompete on that territory, on the territory of jurisdiction. And creating a decentralized jurisdiction has become the center of BitNation's mission? Well, a jurisdiction comprises three elements. The ability to have a set of rules that all parties to an agreement will abide by. The ability to arbitrate if those rules are broken by one party, the ability to resolve a dispute or if circumstances change. And then finally, the ability to ensure that if an agreement is made, it is robust, that people will uphold that agreement. Right now, the nation-state system uses an enforcement mechanism. It's a punitive mechanism to enforce rules. A system which puts the citizen first and puts sovereignty back in the citizen's hands. So rather than a system where a third party is required to enforce the rules, we're building a system where people are incentivized to cooperate with others and incentivized to uphold the rules that they have agreed individually or as groups with the others, with other people that they've made agreements with. So in that sense, we decided that our jurisdiction network, it would reward people for following the rules rather than punish them for breaking the rules. And that is the heart of Pangea, the software that we're building on which voluntary nations and citizens can live and be assured that their security and justice will be provided through a network solution. So what will Pangea be used for? Well, Pangea is not a single-use application. It's the infrastructure for decentralized governance. Because it's a jurisdiction, it provides the context in which any form of agreement can be made without having to rely upon a third-party intermediary. So it could be used to make freelance contracts, for example, between different nation-state jurisdictions, neither of which privilege that agreement, but would privilege one individual over another. So for example, if you're a coder in Pakistan and you want to make a deal with a company based in Amsterdam, choosing either the Dutch or the Pakistani jurisdiction may not be desirable for either party. So creating a jurisdiction between those two with a set of rules that both can agree on and with an incentive mechanism to ensure that those rules are followed by both parties is something that Pangea could do much better and much more cheaply than attempting to negotiate an agreement in either of those jurisdictions. Pangea could also be used for territorial, for city-states or special economic zones to create a discrete jurisdiction in which a small intentional community could build their own code of law and have their own system without having to develop or adopt the jurisdiction of neighboring states. It's also for social agreements such as marriages. It provides a context in which those could be made. Each party agrees. And finally, of course, one can have citizenship on Pangea, and that citizenship is not reliant upon the will of a particular nation state. So, for example, a refugee nation created on Pangea could allow people to create citizenship for their lives, not citizenship which is reliant upon a citizenship which they of their own without being falling between the cracks in the nation-state system. So Pangaea comprises a decentralized mesh network. What is a mesh network? Well, a mesh network is a decentralized communications protocol in which everyone, which is totally resilient, it's not reliant upon any server system. So it's, if you like, the digital version of people talking to each other as individuals, but not being reliant upon a third party to hold their information and to adjudicate whether or not what they say to each other is real. So the mesh network, the communications protocol, is at the base of Pangaea. Pangaea then enables individuals to communicate from that network to any blockchain. Right? Contracts, agreements onto a blockchain, which would run as an application, as a smart contract, and use those, by creating those, in the creation of those agreements, also include a system for arbitrating those, bring in human arbitration, a reputation system. So that, and the reputation system to punitive. So agreement, let's say, to buy a car. If that agreement is fulfilled, agreement are drawn up as a contract. The contract is signed on Pangaea and then put onto the blockchain. Once that agreement is running on the blockchain, our AI, our artificial intelligence bot called Lucy, will gather information as to whether that contract has been fulfilled. Once the contract is fulfilled, and even if there's a dispute, if that dispute has been successfully arbitrated, all parties will receive some reputation tokens, non-tradable reputation tokens, and that, if you like, a score based on the fulfillment of the contract terms. So the reputation system is not reliant upon the opinion of others. It's based upon performance. Successfully performed, then the parties to that agreement will receive some reputation. And that reputation will enable individuals to be able to make other agreements with other parties in a more trustworthy way. You'll be able to assess whether the individual group that you're making an agreement with has a good reputation for fulfilling those agreements, is trustworthy. So reputation will have a value. In addition to that, because we're using an incentive network, at certain thresholds, there will also be the possibility to receive payment in our tradable token, the Pangaea arbitration token. There will be a reward for building up reputation. So you'll be able to earn tradable tokens based on your good citizenship. To build Pangaea, BitNation needs to transform the vision which has been the source movement. Fellow travelers who are committed to a decentralized world, contributing voluntarily through our Slack channel, other channels, to the development of the concepts and ideas. We now need to build information and engineer a machine, if you like, to build software and to maintain it and to push it forward. There's quite a lot of elements to this, not just the engineering side, it's leading edge and very exciting technology, but also we need an operational side with finance and legal capacity, and we also need to build up our ability to engage externally through marketing and also through our ambassador network. This Devcon marks the point when we will create that professional core and we will add that to the open source network to support our open source network, but also Pangea product, the product which will enable us to live in that new world. How we're going to construct that new professional heart. And you're going to hear from our new team. You're going to hear from the engineers. You're going to hear from our operational people. You're going to hear from our marketing people about how we intend to take BitNation forward. And then lastly, probably most of you have heard that we will be running a token sale event in the next few months. And the reason why we're seeking crowdfunding is to build our platform. But the core element of the core reason for seeking that funding is to make sure that we can build that professional core, or can make sure that we accelerate the process of building the decentralized technology that we need to make Pangea a real living entity, something that on their mobile phone and live a decentralized life on. The token sale event will run over the next few months. It's hard capped, so we're not seeking to raise more money than we need. We're intending to invest some of it, most of it in our engineering, but also some of it in our ecosystem to allow other fellow travelers, community members to develop governance services which can run in the jurisdictions that are created for voluntary nations on Pangea. So the purpose of the funding is to build Pangea, but also to build an ecosystem of governance services that provide an alternative to nation-state jurisdictions. So without further ado, I'll hand over to our team and let Devcon'01 in Amsterdam begin. Thank you.